right. So for today's centering, I am going to suggest a comfortable seated pose because I'm going to offer a quick breathing practice before we into our full centering. So anything that is comfortable for you for a seated pose, and it could even be on the chair that you have near you. Otherwise, could be easy seated, could be bottoms of the feet together, Baddha Konasana with the knees out wide, whichever you prefer. And then we're going to just start by hands grounded down on the legs. Keeping the eyes resting on a spot in front of you. Take just a moment and notice your breath. We're not going to change anything right at the beginning. Just start to be aware of the breath moving in and out. And if it's available, a light seal on the lips to let the air come in and out just through the nose. And then taking the right hand, we're going to bring the right thumb to the right nostril. We're going to take an inhale through the left nostril, lengthened inhale. And then close the left nostril and exhale through the right. Then repeat, close the right, breathe in through the left. Close the left and exhale right. Keep going at your pace. Your inhales can be anywhere from maybe 3, 4, 5 count. Exhales, maybe a count or two longer out the right nostril. So always inhaling through the left, exhaling through the right. Taking one more round at your pace. Gently dropping that right hand to meet the left. And bring the pinkies, the outer edges of the pinkies together, outer edges of the thumbs together, and then let the other 3 fingers widen and blossom. And then drop that right in front of the heart, right in front of the chest. Shoulders down and away from the ears. Feeling the foundation of all the parts of the body on the floor. And then feeling the lift of the sternum towards the hands, opening and broadening the heart, both perhaps literally and figuratively. Let the breathing continued with that lengthened inhale, lengthened exhale. As we focus today on the heart, the area of the chest, the upper back, the shoulders. If your breath is not proving to be a solid anchor for you today to keep your mind focused and steady, an option could be to focus on the color green Or perhaps set an intention, something around loving kindness for yourself, for others, for creation. So that as you are moving through a physical practice, you're able to best keep your mind focused.
Then we bought for. So.
For another 2 cycles of breath. And gently, slowly let the hands float down. Blink the eyes open. And spinning on your pockets, we're going to start to move so that you're turning towards the right. And then bring the left side of your body down onto the mat. You can extend that left arm long, using it as a pillow. And then just rest the legs together, head down on the arm, and rest in fetal pose just for a breath or 2. We're going to move that top right leg, and perhaps hand can be on the shin, hand can be at the front of the ankle or the front of the foot, and then start to lower that right leg back down again. So you're just getting a gentle quadricep opener. As we move into this opening of the front of the thigh, you can always press the front right pelvis forward a little bit if you need more of a stretch in the quadricep and thigh. Holding for 1 more breath. Gently release that down. Bring the right hand to the floor in front of you. Slide all the way over onto your belly and extend that left arm out long next to you. You can rest your cheek down on the mat if that's comfortable for you, or forehead works fine too. And then bringing the right hand underneath the right shoulder, we're going to just start to gently, slowly move our body back on to the left side body. So you're opening up the front of the left shoulder, but you're only going to go as far as that shoulder is asking you to. So perhaps maybe it's just a gentle lift up. Or perhaps you're coming all the way over onto the side body. Doesn't matter where you land, just wherever you feel the sensation of the front of that left shoulder opening up. Take an inhale to prepare. And then your exhale brings you all the way back over onto your belly. Doing the exact same shoulder opener on the other side, extending the right arm long. Left hand comes under the left shoulder. And then just a gentle tilt towards that arm. So you're opening up now the front of the right shoulder. Not going to go super far quite yet. We're going to do a lot of shoulder openers today, so we're just going to start to warm that up. Last inhale here. And then your exhale moves you back to the floor. This time that right arm comes towards me. Head lands on the shoulder. And then come over to fetal position this time, laying on the right side body. Then just pause, take a breath. The left hand can lift Bringing it anywhere along the shin, front of the ankle, front of the foot, and start to draw that left leg back, opening up the quadricep. Take one more full inhale here. Exhale to release. Lower both hands to the mat and come all the way back to your belly. Sliding the elbows to be directly underneath the shoulders. This time your sternum is going to reach towards the top edge of your mat, fingertips pointing to the top edge of the mat. And then think if you can try and relax and almost melt everything from the waist down into the mat. If this is too much sensation in the low back, then just broaden those elbows any amount and then lift the sternum as much as the low back feels more comfortable with. Taking an inhale here, we're going to draw the hands back to where the elbows were. Push the floor away on an exhale and draw the knees up underneath you. Taking a moment here to do cat-cow, any kind of barrel rolls, maybe make that C-spine, anything that's calling to you that feels good. Just start to move that spine around, either in that extension into cow and then into the flexion of cat or side to side bends, whatever feels good for you. Eventually bringing it back to center. Taking an inhale, we will extend that left arm long and then lift the right leg up back behind you. So firing up the core, warming it up just a bit. Taking an inhale, you're going to bend the right knee. So now the right foot is coming up towards the ceiling. You are welcome to stay there. Another option is to lower the left hand back down, or you can reach the left hand either to your low back or perhaps, again, grabbing the front of the shin or ankle. So this time going into cross arches. Opposite hand, opposite foot. Take another inhale. Exhale, gently, slowly release, bringing all of that back down to the ground. Same thing, other side. This time extending right arm long, and then left leg lifts. Notice if one side felt a little more stable, the other side a little bit more wiggly, doesn't matter. Just paying attention and noticing what the body's telling you. Bending at the knees so the bottom of the left foot comes up to the ceiling. And then either keeping that right arm extended, dropping the right hand to the floor, or bringing the right hand to the low back. Or another variation is to bring the hand again to the foot and come into that cross arch. So now this time you're still opening up the front of the thigh, but also adding in a bit more of the chest and shoulder. Exhale, gently, slowly release all of that back down to the floor. Walking the hands back to the knees, lift all the way up, coming up to standing on the knees. If this is not a fit for you, you're going to come back down to your comfortable seat if there's too much pressure on the knees. Taking an inhale, reach the arms up to the ceiling. And then exhale, draw that right hand down to the back of the right thigh and look over the right shoulder. Inhale, reach it up. Exhale, left hand down, look over the left shoulder. And then inhale up. Taking both toes, both sets of toes, pressing them into the mat so the heels are lifted. Going to take that inhale again. This time, exhale, draw that right hand down, look over the right shoulder. You can bring it to the back of the thigh, or if you'd like a little bit more of a back extension, you can press the pelvis forward, reach the hand for the heel, And again, look over that right shoulder. Taking an inhale, draw the hand back to the low back first, lift the torso up, and then reach the hand to the ceiling. Exhaling, this time the left arm comes down. You can bring it to the back of the thigh, or looking over that shoulder, perhaps bring the hand to the heel if it's a fit on this side. Pressing the pelvis forward, take another inhale. Exhale to prepare. Your inhale draws that hand to the low back, and then exhale, both arms come down. Coming back to that center, we're going to draw the hands back down. Walk the hands forward, any amount, but enough so that as you draw the chest down and forward, you can keep the hips lifted and melt the heart towards the ground. You can either lower the forehead, or for some folks, draw the chin down to the mat and then breathe here in melting heart pose. Taking 2, maybe 3 more cycles of breath here, noticing the sensation in the shoulders. Exhaling to prepare. Your inhale draws those hands back. You're going to keep those nice wide starfish hands. So you've got the almost like a claw shape, pressing the tips of each finger and the base knuckle of each finger into the mat. And then drawing the knees back enough of a distance so that as you move yourself forward, drawing the chest down towards the wrists, you have a straight line from knee through the crown of your head. Take another full inhale here. Exhale, squeeze the elbows into the rib cage as you lower all the way down to the floor. And then inhale, baby cobra, just lifting the sternum up and away. Exhale, lower down, tuck the toes into the mat, take an inhale, push up through all fours, and then float the knees, coming into that upside down letter V or downward facing dog. Taking your time to kind of move from side to side, shifting the hips, walking the dog, getting a little bit of movement in it for this first round. If you notice that your heels are a good 3, 4, maybe more inches away from the ground, I would encourage you to step your feet forward until you can maybe only have a couple inches. That's going to help take pressure off the shoulders and wrists. Eventually bringing stillness to it, lowering those heels towards the ground, lifting the tailbone towards the ceiling, and breathe. Inhaling your gaze towards your hands. Step or walk your feet forward to the top of the mat and exhale into forward fold. Inhale to press the hands into the shins, half lift. And then exhale, let it release. Release tension out of the back of the neck, let it hang heavy. And then letting the arms dangle, we're going to slowly, one vertebrae at a time, press into the feet and inhale to lift the torso, drawing the belly button up and in as you do to support the low back, and then shoulders up, back and down, front of the head to the ceiling. Standing at the top of your mat for about 2 to 3 breaths. Perhaps closing the eyes, feeling whatever the sensations in the physical body. Coming back to your anchor, whether that's your intention, your breath, or the color green. And then resettling. Gently blinking the eyes open. Inhale, we'll reach the arms up. And then exhale, soften the knees, fold forward from the hips and come back down into your forward fold. This time, we're going to draw the hands back around behind the calves. So on your half lift, you're inhaling, you're drawing that sternum forward, spine is at a half lift, hands behind the calves, and then as you exhale, fold forward, knees can be bent as much as comfortable for you, and perhaps the hands draw down near the ankles. Again, letting the head hang heavy. Inhale, draw the hands down to the mat, deep bend in the knees, and then step the feet all the way to the back end of your mat. You can either keep the knees down or knees up. If you want knees down, keep that straight line from knees to the crown of the head. If you're going to have knees up, you're drawing all of that tension, not tension, I'm not really wanting us to draw tension. Let's say all of that energy throughout your heels. And then again, a straight line from heels through the crown of the head. Hold for one more breath, really warming up the fronts of the thighs and the center right at the core. On your exhale, shift the shoulders forward, squeeze the elbows into the rib cage and lower all the way down into chaturanga. Nice. Your inhale can either be that half lift that we just did, the baby cobra, or if it's feeling right in your upper back, you can extend the arms coming up into high cobra. Exhale to release back down. Tuck the toes into the mat. Take an inhale. You can either pass through your tabletop or come right back into your downward facing dog. Hold and breathe. We'll hold here for 2 cycles of breath. Now on your next inhale, bring your gaze towards your hands. You're going to step the feet forward, landing in that forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale and release, deep bend in the knees. You're going to keep that right foot where it is. You're going to slide the left foot towards the back of the mat, landing the knee down. And then take an inhale and lift the torso up. So you have almost like a split squat, and if that's too much pressure on the knee, either double it up or bring your weight forward. And then inhaling to reach the arms towards the ceiling. Exhaling, you're going to shift the hips down. So again, we're opening up this space in the front of the hip flexor, the psoas, the quadriceps, that whole area right where the hip bends. Taking another inhale here. Exhale to draw the hands down. Shift your hips back and extend that front leg long. Half splits. You can keep the sternum lifted, spine long, or you can walk the hands forward, let the spine round, and drop the forehead towards the leg. Doesn't mean it's going to touch, we're just moving that direction. Inhale, lift up, draw that right foot back down to the mat. You're going to tuck the back toes into the mat and just let that back knee hover as you inhale and lift the torso up. So now coming into that high crescent lunge. Inhale, reach the arms. Gaze might follow, or if that's not comfortable on your neck, you're going to bring your gaze down in front of you. Hold for another breath. And then exhale, taking that right hand down back towards the left thigh. Reach the left arm up and gaze over the right shoulder. Notice the opening from the armpit through the crease of the hip on the left side body. Inhale, extend that front leg long. reach the left arm back around behind you as you pivot the back foot flat to the floor. Inhale to reach the right arm up. Exhale, bending into the right leg, coming into your reverse warrior, sometimes called exalted warrior. Deep bend in that front knee as much as is comfortable for you. And then inhale, reach it up, extend that front leg long again. You're going to interlace your fingers behind you. If that's not available, then just bring your hands maybe back to your back hands pockets. Step that back foot in, maybe 4 to 6 inches. Toe is still turned out to the side. You're going to inhale, lift the hands away from the tailbone. Exhale, bend into that front knee as you start to lower the torso down towards the top of that front leg. Now you can keep it extended long like so, or if your hips feel like coming into humble warrior and drawing the shoulder down to or towards that knee feels right for you, that's an option. Taking one more breath here. Your exhale releases both hands and place them in front of the front foot. Take an inhale, draw that left foot back up to the top of the mat. And then here is where we're going to want to either have a block or perhaps the seat of a chair right near that left front foot. Drawing the right hand to the right hip, left hand on your prop. You're going to take an inhale, start to open the body up towards the right side of the mat. And then that right foot can either hover, maybe kickstand down, or float up. If you would like, you can extend the right arm up, coming into half moon balance pose. We're going to hold here for about 2 to 3 breaths so that if you happen to wobble, fall out, totally fine. Just come back in. Taking another inhale here. Your exhale draws that right foot down, coming back right into your forward fold. Inhale and extend the spine. Exhale, draw the hands down to the mat, deep bend in the knees, step the feet all the way to the back of the mat, either knees up or knees down plank. Take an inhale here. Exhale, squeeze the elbows in, lower down into chaturanga. Inhale your version of a back extension, either keeping it in the low baby cobra or extending up into high cobra. And then exhale to draw it back down. Inhale to tuck the toes into the mat, either come up to tabletop or exhale, downward facing dog. You are welcome to stay in down dog, or you can drop your knees and come into tabletop, or we're going to go into dolphin, which is essentially the same as where you are right now in downward facing dog, except you're going to lower the elbows to the mat. If this is not a fit for your shoulders or your hamstrings or for any reason, you're going to drop the knees down to the mat and do the same thing from tabletop. Take another breath here. And then on an exhale, we will all land in a forearm tabletop. Taking an inhale, lift up to extend the arms. You're going to take that left hand, center of the mat, pivot on the left knee so that the left foot comes back out behind you. Right leg is extended long. And then inhale, come up to a stand on that left knee. Exhale, draw the right hand down to the right thigh. Reach the left arm up and over like a rainbow. Nice, yep, gate pose. Hold for one more breath. And then we've got a bit of a transition here. So coming back to that stand on your knee. This time, you're going to take that left hand, draw it towards the right edge of your mat. So fingertips are off that side of the mat. You're going to draw your right foot planted on the floor, pointing away from you. So pointing towards the back end of your mat. Now your right knee is going to just swing through so you can sit down facing away from me towards the back end of the mat. Fingertips pointing towards your seat. Pull the shoulder blades together, lift the sternum towards your knees. You're welcome to stay there, or you can press into your hands and feet. Inhale, float your seat up and come into reverse tabletop. Your chin is holding an orange between your chest and your chin. And then exhale, release that all down. Now, take your right hand, bring it towards the left edge of the mat. Plant your left foot firmly into the ground. You're going to push into your right hand and left foot and swing the right knee to now land in the center of your mat. Extend the left leg long. Come back up. Perfect, Sarah. Just like so. Inhale the arms out to a letter T. And exhale, gate pose, bringing that left hand up and over, your right hand up and over like a rainbow. Inhale to lift up. You're going to just do a windmill, bring both hands down to the mat in front of you, and then pivot either into knees down or knees up plank. Take another inhale here. Exhale, shift the shoulders forward, squeeze down into chaturanga. Inhale, your back extension. And then exhale, downward facing dog or tabletop, whichever you prefer. And bringing the gaze towards the hands, step or walk the feet all the way up to the top of the mat, landing in your forward fold. Inhale, extend the spine long. Exhale, forward fold, hands to the mat. This time you're going to bring all of your weight into your left foot, and you're going to slide that right foot down towards the back end of your mat. Lower that back knee down, and inhale, lift up. And then, if it feels right for you, you're going to move that foot forward enough so that as you shift the hips down towards the ground and get that nice opening along the front of the right thigh, you have enough space on the front leg so your knee's not really going over the front toes. And then inhale to reach the arms up. If you'd like to go into a baby back bend, that's an option, and gaze can either be on the fingers, or if it's better for your neck, bring the gaze to the floor. Shoulders are melting away from the ears. Exhale the hands to frame the front foot. Inhale to shift the hips back, keeping the hips off the back heel. You're going to extend that front leg and come into that half split. Again, your choice. You can keep the spine extended and long, or you can start to let the spine round down. And then inhale, half lift. Bring the foot back down to the floor. You're going to tuck your back toes into the mat. Take an inhale, let that back knee hover, and then float the chest up. Hands can be on the hips, or you can extend the arms up towards the ceiling. And again, now this time, high crescent lunge. Taking another inhale here. Your exhale this time is going to draw that left hand down towards the back leg, gaze over the left shoulder, and really open up armpit past the hip. Inhale to extend that front leg. You're going to pivot your back foot so the toes are, the heel is landing down and the toes are pointing out to the side. Draw that right arm across your low back. Inhale the left arm high. And exhale down into the lunge, coming into your reverse warrior. Gaze can either be at your top hand or gaze can come down to your back foot. Take one more breath here. And then inhale, extend that front leg. Draw both arms back around behind you. You're going to interlace the fingers again. This time, if you can, interlace the fingers in the way that feels more awkward. Way that doesn't feel like you normally would interlace your fingers. And then drawing the fingertips or the knuckles down that back leg. Exhale and bend into your front knee. You're welcome to stay upright, or you can start to just hinge forward over that front leg. You're taking your time, and notice how it feels on this side. It might feel very different than the first side. If it feels like drawing all the way down inside that front knee is accessible with that hip, feels right for your shoulders, you can go as deep or not deep as you prefer. Exhale, release the hands to the floor. Inhale, step the right foot forward, landing it at the top of the mat. Forward fold. Setting up your props on this side. So now you're going to want that chair or the block, whatever it is that you have, just maybe 6 to 8 inches in front of your right foot. Taking the left hand to the left hip, you're going to start to draw yourself open to the left. That left toe can stay hovered like a kickstand, or you can start to float it up and out, opening up the entire body to the left side of the mat, perhaps reaching the left hand up to the ceiling. If you don't want the prop, you can bring the hand to the floor, or you can hover the fingers off the prop or the floor. Again, we'll hold it, so if you come out, just take your breath and then move back in. Exhale, release the foot to the floor, release the hands from the prop, soften the knees, and forward fold. Inhale, half lift and extend. Exhale, drop the hands to the floor, deep bend in the knees, step the feet back, either lower the knees or keep them off the mat. Your choice for plank pose. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, your version of a back extension. And then exhale to tuck the toes, lift the hips into downward dog, or stay in tabletop. We're going to do that dolphin option one more time. So if you know that you don't like bringing your forearms to the mat in down dog, you're going to automatically lower the knees and then come into the forearm. Or staying in down dog, release the forearms and elbows down to the floor. Hold in dolphin for 2 breaths. And then we will all exhale, drop the knees down. Inhale, come up into the tabletop. This time we're going to draw the right hand, center of the mat. You're going to flip so that that right foot, the right heel, comes back behind you. Staying that right knee in the middle of the mat and then extending the left leg long towards the back edge of your mat. And then inhale to lift up. Bring the arms into the letter T. Exhale, gate pose over the left leg. And inhale back up. This is where now you're going to take that right hand, bring it to the left edge of your mat. You're going to press into the right foot. Sorry, the left foot. You're going to press into the left foot and draw the right foot out underneath you, flipping around, sitting away from me. Fingertips are pointed towards your seat. Feet are flat on the floor. You can stay right here, sternum lifting towards the knees, really pulling those shoulder blades together behind you. Or if you choose, you can press into the palms and bottoms of the feet. Inhale, float the seat up and lift the hips towards the ceiling. Hold in reverse tabletop or lifting the sternum towards the knees. One more breath. Exhale, release it down. Again, you have that right hand near the left edge of the mat. You're going to press in to the left hand and right hand and left foot. Draw the right knee back to the center of the mat. And then just windmill everything coming into tabletop at the top edge of the mat. Holding here for another breath. Exhale, draw the arms forward, melt the heart, and lower the forehead. Inhale to lift the gaze. You're just going to make your way onto your belly. So maybe sliding the legs down and back, releasing the whole front side of the torso down to the mat, and releasing the forehead to the stacked hands. From here, you're going to inhale and bend the right knee, bottom of the foot coming up to the ceiling. Keeping the forehead on the stacked hands is going to be one variation. You can stay right here if this is a fit for you. The next variation is to just get a little bit of a lift in this chest so that you can start to draw that right hand either back to the low back or to the back of the thigh. If you want to bring some weight into that left forearm and elbow, that's an option too. That creates just a little bit more of a back extension. So you pay attention to what your back is saying. And then one more variation, again, is to draw your hand towards the front of the shin or the ankle. Pull the hand against the shin or ankle and pull the ankle against the shin or hand. Perhaps the thigh floats off the mat, or if this is not a fit for you, you're going to return back down to one of the other variations. Half bow pose. Exhale, release. Draw both hands forward, release the leg, and rest the forehead. Same thing, other side. Keeping that forehead down, we're going to start just with bending the left leg, bottom of the foot comes towards the ceiling. Pause there, notice how it feels. If you'd like, you can bring the left hand either back to the low back or to the back of the thigh. Perhaps bringing a little weight into that right forearm or elbow if it feels right for you. And then other variation is to bring the hand to the foot or shin, and then press the front of the ankle or shin into the hand into the shin, and let the knee perhaps float up. All of these are just options. You choose what's working best for you on each side for today. One more breath. Exhale and release. Lower the leg, stack the hands, rest the forehead. Keeping that forehead resting down, we're going to tuck the toes into the mat. Heels are lifted, and then pull your energy out your heels. So you're pressing the heels into the wall behind you. And notice if you can feel a bit of a lengthening in your low back as you do so. One more breath here. And then exhale, release. Drawing the hands back underneath the shoulders. Toes are tucked into the mat. Take an inhale, push the floor away, come up to tabletop. Going to draw the right knee forward. Cross that right ankle and foot in front of the left knee. So you're basically looking like you are going to sit cross-legged in a chair. Now, this is a really, for most folks, a really pretty intense hip opener that we're going to offer some variations for. So your first variation may be to stay right here or lower down to your elbows. If you're feeling enough in either hip, particularly in the left hip, but in either hip, you're going to hang out right here. If you've got your prop handy, a bolster, a block, anything like so, you're going to reach that back around behind you, place it in between your feet, and then start to walk your hands back until you can rest either the outer thigh of that left leg or your seat on the prop. That's not going to be a fit for your knees or for your hips. Again, this is an option. Or you're just going to come back into that easy seated pose that we started with at the beginning. This can be a pretty intensive opener for most. So if this is a better fit for you, that's what you're going to do. If coming into the full, what is called shoelace pose, some also call it Gomukhasana, which is typically translated as cow face pose, but it's not exactly that. If that's too much, take that out, extend the leg long, and then just cross the right leg on top of it. So your left leg is long. Either way. Lots of variations.
Doing it right.
You're fine where you are. You're going to hold there, breathe into that hip opener. And then eventually push ourselves forward, come back up into that tabletop if you're not already there. If you've been down on your forearms right here, you're going to lift yourself up. Uncross the legs. And then recross. This time left leg comes in front of the right leg. This might feel very different than the first side. So we're not necessarily going to automatically go back into the same variation that you did the first time. So if you're feeling enough of a hip opener right here, this is where you're going to hang out. Or come down to the elbows. Notice how that feels. Or stack up the props underneath you. Start to lower that right hip or seat down to the prop. Hang out there. Yep, nice variation. Other option on this side, it would be extending the right leg long, crossing the left knee over, or just coming into that easy seated pose that we started with at the beginning. Whichever variation you're choosing, just hold here and breathe. 2 more cycles. On your inhale, if you're back on your, if you've been seated, you're going to push yourself back up into tabletop. If you're in tabletop or down on the forearms, let's all unwind our legs, come back into tabletop. Making your way onto a seated position in whichever way it makes sense for you. Does not matter how you get there, just swinging your legs around in front. And coming down to your seat. Keeping those knees up towards the ceiling, feet flat on the floor. You're going to either have hands behind the thighs or fronts of the shins. Hold the sternum towards the knees. Pull the belly button towards the spine. And then notice if you can draw one foot up. Release that. Try the other foot. Release that. Now, possibly start to tilt back on the sits bones and draw both feet up. Keeping that sternum lifted, you can either just roll one vertebrae at a time, drawing yourself down onto your back, or if that's not going to be a fit for you, draw your hands back or swing again your knees over to the side and come all the way down onto your back in whatever way that makes sense for you, or rolling down like a ball all the way to your back. Once you're down on your back, feet stay on the floor, knees up to the ceiling. Pressing the feet firmly down onto the ground, feeling all of the muscles on the back side of the torso, having the opportunity to just release. Taking an inhale to prepare. Exhale, press that low back down into the mat, imprinting all the vertebrae of the low back. And then on your next inhale, pressing into the feet, lift the hips and let them float up. Holding for a breath. And then exhaling, lowering it down. Noticing where your feet were, it is an option to draw those heels closer to your seat. A lot of times that makes it a little bit easier to get higher lift in the hips if that's a fit for your back extension. It's not going to be a fit for everyone. So now again, taking an inhale to prepare, exhale to press the low back down into the mat. Inhale, float the hips up. If there is space and you feel the option of bringing your hands together underneath your hips, perhaps again, interlacing the fingers, pulling the shoulder blades together underneath you, lifting the sternum towards the chin, and keeping those knees pointed in front of you. Hold for 2 more cycles of breath and bridge pose. And then gently release the arms away, pull the shoulder blades out, and then exhale, 1 vertebrae down at a time. Landing the tailbone down last. And then windshield wiper the legs side to side. Whatever you have available for your prop, that rolled up mat or blanket or towel or bolster, whatever it is, you're going to find that. You're going to tilt yourself up enough so that you can have that prop sit. If it's a mat, typically it sits right at the tailbone, and then you just go ahead and drape your spine over it, lengthening the legs long or keeping the feet on the ground. That's up to you. And then from there, drawing the arms out and open, laying the backs of the hands on the floor, palms up to the ceiling. If you're using yoga blocks for this, then there are times where the back of the head is not supported. So if you have enough blocks to make a kind of like a train track, that would be an option. Or if you have just a bit of a gap between the floor and the edge of your prop, bringing either the back of the skull or the top of the skull to the floor is another variation, only if it's a fit for your neck. It's not that variation of fish pose is not going to be a fit for everyone. So cueing so that your head, back of the head is on the prop is usually an option that's more fitting for most necks. Feeling that opening of all the spaces between the ribs on the side body, on the front of the body. And then bring to mind that intention. If you set one at the beginning of class, not everybody did maybe, but if you set an intention at the beginning of class, bring that to mind again. Notice if there's anything that you can identify in your heart, in the core of you, that you feel does not help you achieve that intention. Maybe it's a bit of resentment. Maybe it's irritation for something or someone. Perhaps it's just some feeling of overwhelm and stress. Not belittling any of those things, but if they feel like they're blocking you from really setting that intention of being who you are in an open-hearted, loving kindness way, go ahead and let those emotions or sensations melt out the back of you, the back side of your heart into the prop and into the ground, releasing them away. And with your heart open, allow yourself to receive whatever it is that can help you achieve that intention. Maybe it's gratitude. Maybe it's thankfulness and gratitude for a certain person or situation. Maybe it's self-compassion for offering another grace. Whatever it is that appeals to you to open that heart, draw in more loving kindness. Take it in now while the heart is open. You are welcome to stay there for your final resting pose. If you would rather go into a different variation for final rest, whether that's coming back into fetal pose and laying on your side, removing the prop and laying flat on your back, or coming into a seated resting pose, go ahead and come into any variation for your final rest that feels good for you. And bring your attention back to your anchor. Drawing in a lengthened inhale. Open mouth sigh on the exhale. And small movements to the toes. Wrists and ankles, letting it move up into the knees, elbows, shoulders, and hips. Gently, slowly moving. Perhaps a long full body stretch would feel good if you'd like. Fingers over the head, pointing the toes away from you, pulling it apart from the waist. And then exhale to either roll up or to roll over to your side to a seated, get yourself into a seated position. Taking your time, whatever way makes sense to you. And then once you are there, comfortable seated position, outside of the pinkies together, drawing the base of the palms together, outside of the thumbs together, and then growing the rest of the fingers out, placing that right at heart center. Either drawing the eyes closed or bringing the eyes to the tips of the fingers. Taking an inhale. And then on an exhale, may all beings happy, all beings be healthy, may all beings be free. Bring a moment of gratitude to mind, to those in ancient India that have passed this practice on to us, and perhaps a moment of gratitude for anything else that's happening in your life or in deep inhale. Exhale to lower the chin towards the chest and keep the eyes open. Om Shanti, peace. Thank you so much.